everybody. I'm gonna do a little bit different type of live stream today. Instead of doing online gameplay, I'm gonna be building a Ryzen 5 1600 PC. The main components of the PC will be the Ryzen 5 1600, an Asus Prime X370 Pro motherboard. I originally planned to put in 16 gigs of RAM, but I was able to get my hands on 32 gigs of RAM, so we'll be using that. And I've got a 750 watt power supply. We've also got a Rio Toro C1080 case as well. This will be my first time building basically with any of this stuff, because I usually don't do I usually don't do AMD builds, and I've never built inside of the Rio Toro case, so this will be interesting. The other interesting thing about this, the reason why I'm live streaming, is there are 3 parts that I am not sure if they will fit in this case or not. They're basically close. One's off by a millimeter. Basically everything's off by millimeters, but from what I've read online, it should work. So this will be interesting. Here is the motherboard. The reason why I went with a Ryzen build, normally I do Intel builds, and again, I don't usually do builds with AMD CPUs. The reason why I did this one though is just because of how interesting Ryzen has become. I'm getting a 6-core 12-thread processor for. I actually ended up getting mine for $200. It was overpriced, but if you're in the States and you go to jet.com, it was priced at $230, but they have a 15% off if you haven't ordered anything from them before. So I ended up getting $30 off. It goes up to $30. So I ended up getting the processor for $200. Here's the processor itself. This will also be interesting because not using AMD, I haven't installed a CPU that's got pins on it, which is completely different than anything I'm used to. This is going to go around that way. I will be doing, well, let me put the RAM in. And because this is a Ryzen build, I guess the one thing that's different is you put the RAM in to slots 2 and 4 rather than slots. This is good. That's fixed. Rather than in slots 1 and 3 like I would with an Intel build. Sorry, this is the type of RAM slot that only has one side. There we go. I'm actually going to do something interesting here because, again, I don't know if One of the parts that I don't know if it's going to fit is the CPU cooler. Um, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and mount it, and hopefully everything works out. Keep your fingers crossed. I was going to dry fit and make sure, but we're just going to go ahead and mount it. Now the CPU cooler I got, some people will be like, why? But I got an Enermax ETS N31. Reason why I got this one is because it's AM4 compatible. The other reason is that it also was 125 millimeters tall, which this case says that 120 millimeters is the tallest that a CPU cooler that can fit. But I've read online of some people successfully installing a Noctua cooler that's supposed to be the same height. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that this will work out. I've also never used the AM CPU mount, so this will be interesting. I'm not going to use the thermal paste that came with the cooler. I'm going to use TG3 from Thermaltake. It's kind of what I've been using lately. Should be plenty. Apparently I've got an issue here. So apparently the CPU cooler is not going to fit. This is supposed to really be that tight. No, this is not going to fit. I think what we're going to do here is we're just going to brute force this because it looks like it's bent up a little bit. So we're just going to brute force this on. I can definitely tell you right now, I am not a fan of the AM4 coolers. I can tell you this, that's not going anywhere. And hopefully it didn't break my CPU. So that's in. Took a lot longer than it needed to. Put this to the side for a second. And here's the Rio Toro case. It's a full-size ATX case, but it's really short. This side will house the motherboard, and then this other side is where I put the cooler and all that good stuff. I'm not really going to go over much of the stuff in the case because this isn't a review, it's just me putting stuff together. But the little bracket that I did take out is a 3.5 inch drive bay. There's also another 3.5 inch bay or 2.5 bay, and this screw comes out, this flips up, and then you can also mount a 2.5 on the back. So I can fit 3 drives total, 3 SSDs if you have a 3.5 to 2.5 adapter, or you can have 2 3.5s and 1 2.5. So 3 drives total, but one of them has to be a 2.5 if you're going 3. For the power supply, I'm going with a Corsair CX750. This is one of the pieces that I'm not sure if it's going to fit because it says that the height is 1 millimeter bigger than what the case says it can take. So this will be interesting. Please keep your fingers crossed. And despite that, the 1 millimeter does not seem to be a problem, and that will fit just fine. I'll take that up later. sifting through the screws that they gave me to find the sifting through the screws to find the power supply screws. I will tell you, they give you a lot of screws. I won't worry about dealing with this rat's nest yet, but I will flip over to the other side. Okay, cables. So this comes with the USB 3.0 header. This is, well, that's for the fan. My HD audio for the headphone jack on the case. And then we've got our front reset, power button, you know, hard drive LED and power LED. The nice thing about the Asus motherboard which actually I'll put the mounts and put the motherboard in, is that it comes with a piece that basically lets you hook all this stuff up first, and then you can connect it directly to the motherboard. That kind of saves you the pain in the rear that is inherent with. That's, to me, that's probably the biggest pain in the rear when it comes to installing or building computers. Another thing about this particular case is that the motherboard actually is installed upside down. So what normally would be the bottom of the case is actually now the top of the case. I haven't hooked up my fan header yet, which actually, let me do that really quick and then I'll put this back in. While I'm doing this, I'm not going to really worry about cable management because I usually come back later and do that. I just want to make sure everything works first. again, no, I'm not installing this upside down. That's literally how it's meant to be installed. What connection I'm gonna have to use? They didn't put that header in, so let me do that really quick. Sorry, Riser. Okay, now I've got all of them. Oh, yeah, and one other thing I might want to do, which I was not even thinking about, is put in the I/O backplate. Might be a good idea. Or I have to take everything out and put it back in again. Let's get this out of here. My screwdriver's no longer, my head's no longer magnetized, so let me get another one. I didn't see where that went. I think it went on the back side of my... That sucks. I think it fell into the back chamber, so I'll get that after I get done with everything. Yeah, usually my screwdriver's pretty magnetized, but for some reason now they're not. I guess I gotta take care of those. Now I lost another one. Alright, great. Gotta happen on live stream, right? So we're gonna move to a manual screwdriver. I'm gonna have to try to be really careful and get these seated because I've already lost 2 screws. My screws aren't magnetized anymore. I guess I gotta take care of that after the stream. Or my screwdrivers aren't magnetized anymore. This one will be interesting. My hands are kind of too big to get in there. And of course well, let me try one more screwdriver, see if I can find one more magnetic one. Oh, this one's not the right size, but at least it'll get it in there. Might be wondering why I didn't do the center screw. This case actually, I guess, has a little dimple that goes through the center ATX motherboard support. So I guess if you have an ITX board, you only use 3 screws. If you have a mini ITX board, you're only going to use what, like 5? And then a full ATX, you're going to use 8 instead of 9. If you get this Rio Toro case. Again, the reason why I got this Asus board, despite all the negative feedback I've read about it, even though most of that negative feedback is, I guess, mainly people that are complaining about stuff that I don't know why they complain about the motherboard for it. It comes with this, though. What this will let you do is connect all these wires first, and then you can connect it directly to the motherboard, and all the pins are lined up. You don't have to search the documents, try to get all the little pins lined up and everything. This lets you connect everything outside. It's nice and labeled. If I can untangle these cords first. And like, for example, I've got my power positive and negative LED. All I have to do is look on here. Find my power and ground. So those will just go there. Oh, sorry, that's the LED one. So it should go on the P LED plus and minus. Got my power switch. Power switch shouldn't really matter which way that it goes because it's just a momentary switch, so it shouldn't matter which way you put it on. And I've got my HDD LED, so my hard drive LED. And again, that one shouldn't matter which way you put it on also. And then I've got my reset switch. Again, your reset switch shouldn't matter either. So it looks like I don't have any of the other stuff on this case, which would be, I guess you've got connection for a speaker too, so you can hook that directly up to there. And I don't know what the P LEDs are. I'm guessing those are diagnostics things, but everything should hook up over here. And again, instead of me having to mess around with lining all these up, I can literally just plug in this guy right here, and everything is where it's supposed to be. Which again, to me, that's the biggest pain in the rear when building a PC, and Asus seems to make it really easy. Let me just locate on the motherboard where the speaker header is. Probably could have known this before the stream, but I didn't, so sorry. And actually, I've seen that I put this on just a regular header. So the back one's the CPU. There's one right in front of it that I had connected to that is just a normal fan header. I'm not finding the audio connector, so I'll just hunt for it. I believe that's it, but it's, yeah, that's it. Again, I'll fix the cable management later. I'm just going to make sure that the computer works. Next thing is I got a video card. Got an RX 480. That's going to go on right here. Looks like I do need to this is the counter. I just have to get a screwdriver and pry this bad boy up. Again, this is the other part that I'm not sure, and it looks like it's not going to fit. Well, let's make sure right now. If it doesn't, I've got a GTX 970 that I can put it in its place. So if for some reason this doesn't work, I can either roll it outside the case or GTX 970. It looks like it just barely fits, so it works. That is perfect. One thing I should have plugged in already, shouldn't be too hard at this point though, is I should have plugged in my USB 3.0 header before I put in the video card. Luckily it's pretty easy to get to, it's just I've got this kind of rat's nest of cables in the way. And I can't really see what I'm doing. So the cable management on this will be very interesting. So that's all that. I'm going to go to the other side of the case and now I'll route my cables. I'll need an 8-pin for the PCI for the card. I'm going to need my CPU power, and then I'm going to also need my 4-pin, or sorry, this motherboard takes an 8-pin for the power as well. Get those screws come out. I've got my 8-pin power connector. I need one PCIe 8-pin. Looks like this is my 8-pin for my PSU. I'm going to try to get all these routed together. That was screw number 2. So there it is. Let me get that out. The other screws on the bottom there somewhere, but I'll get that in a second. I'm just trying to choose where I want to route things through so I don't have all these cables that I'm going to have to tie back getting in the way of each other. 8-pin PCI first. Luckily the RX 480, it's on the back and I do have plenty of space. I do have a fan right here, which I probably should have dealt with. Luckily the connectors for it are on the other side. They're in the front of the case, so I can deal with that in a second here. Okay, so we got power for the RX 480. While I'm back here, I'm just gonna screw this up because I don't like how the RX 480 is moving around a lot. Now it's in there a little firmer. I do actually have extensions, but I don't know. After thinking about it, I'm not that guy, so I'm not doing it. Ketchup and mustard's fine with me. Okay, so that's all in. I guess it takes a lot of force to take off the front of this case. Okay, well we won't worry about that right now. So I got that in. Hard drive. Got a 480 Toshiba SSD. I do have another hard drive that'll be going in as well. I will also be putting in a 2 terabit. Oh, there's the other screw. I'll also be putting in a 2 terabit regular size drive. I just don't have it out right now because it's sitting in the computer that is streaming this right now. Or that's streaming this stream right now. I will use Ryotaro's nice little slide out option here. And let me plan out how this is going to go because I'm going to have to put power for 2 drives. I'm not going to use this drive bay unless I need another drive. I'll have this snake up. Have that go through there. Put this in here. Oh, that is interesting. So there's little tabs on here, so you actually only need 2 screws when you put in an SSD. I guess how tight this is, technically you could use no screws, but actually, I might run into an issue here. We might need to rethink this. Actually, I will run into an issue. Alright, we're going to run into an issue, so we're going to redo this. The issue I'm going to run into is since this is so tied up against this drive bay, I'm only going to be able to get the end power cable in here. And it's going to need to sit out this way. So I should have just left the drive like how it was. But better to do it now than have to do it later. That's in, but I gotta check out the other side to see if I should use right angle cables. And where it's placed, it's not really gonna matter. One thing I don't understand about this case, and I knew about it getting into this, I just don't understand why they did it, is that, so the hard drive is located towards the top, right? And my SATA connections are literally right on the other side here, but the only hole for me to go through is down here. There's no holes in the top, which I guess the reason why that is because that's a 5 1/4 bay, but it would have been nice to have some sort of ability to route cables through there. That would have made life a little bit easier. And again, I'm not too concerned about cable management right now because I'm going to come back and do that or tidy everything up later. I just want to hook everything up, make sure it works, and then I'll worry about the cable management. I did kind of screw myself over as far as being able to route this through though. Again, over here is where my SATA ports are, but the hard drive's literally on the other side, but I can't get to them because I have to route down and around rather than... I think I might need to flip my cable here. Yeah, so everything's basically hooked up. Hard drive's got power. I don't have any fans hooked up, which actually I guess I'll do that right now. luckily for me, there is a fan header right by where I'm going to put this fan in. I'm going to put a fan right here in the back, and there's a fan header right near it, so that's good. Just make sure that my fan cable can reach, and that pretty much confirms it. Plug it in. Okay, it's one fan in. And I'll figure out something to do with this. Again, this front chassis, or the front of the chassis, doesn't seem to want to come out without a fight. And I feel like I'm breaking it, so I don't want to do that before I've used it. Okay, well, I guess I didn't break it. They come with this blue LED fan. I'm not that guy, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to switch that out for my own just black fan. That was nice. I don't see where that went. Oh, one more screw to locate before we're done here. try to locate where I had some fan headers. So here I got two, but let me make sure. Okay, one's a pump, so I'm not going to do that because the amperage is going to be a little higher. I do have one that's located near the top. Just because I can tie these cables in, I'll leave out as much cable as I can, because I can tie it in with these other cables that need to be tied back. Because of the location of these, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hook this up directly to power. It'll be kind of loud, but you know, as long as it keeps things cool, I'm good. This case doesn't really line up with my fan too well, but we'll just make that work. I'll just use an adapter like this for the other fan. And the one thing I haven't taken care of yet is that other screw. Because it's floating around here somewhere. So I need to get that before I boot everything up. And speak of the devil, there it is. Maybe that wasn't it. Okay, so I routed this in here. I'm going to use that little adapter on it. Don't tell me it fell through. Oh, it fell back through. Molex connector, that's that. Well, I just hope that works. And there is actually a place for a fan right there, but I'm not going to put that in right now. I'll probably do that later. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now off camera, I'm going to hook it up to my monitor. I'm not going to let you see that because my desk is horrible right now. This is my keyboard and mouse hooked up to the other computer. I'm going to use this for right now. Ooh. No bueno. Variable power. Oh, this is not going to reach. got lights on the motherboard. Oh, it's got RGB. Apparently, this thing's got RGB on it. Everything lit, or I got lights on the motherboard, so that's a good sign. Can't wait over it too much. Apparently, I bought something with RGB. You know that. And now for the moment of truth. Well, I got a lot of lights, but I got nothing on the screen, so I'm not sure if I disconnect in a second. Oh, there we go. I finally got something. So it looks like today's build was successful. I'm gonna go ahead and tidy up cables, clean everything up, and I hope that was good for you guys too. Anyway, see you next time. All right, peace.